Hello, you're listening to Recalibrate and Go, a podcast brought to you by Aptude. I'm your host, Michael Foster. Welcome back to Recalibrate and Go. I'm Michael Foster. You can probably tell because it's the same voice as the guy who introduced the show, which is also me. Hey, that offer still stands. If you want to be a guest introduction person, send us your audio file. Say, hey, this is Recalibrate and Go, and we'll put you on. So today, for part 2, we're talking with Wesley Foster Rogers. He's an IT service desk engineer at the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Research Center in Seattle, Washington. And if you caught part 1 of our discussion, we talked about a lot of different things as, well, you know, a couple of artists. They're going to meander a little bit in terms of the topic. We talked a little bit about Seattle, a little bit about ServiceDesk, a little bit about just customer service in general, and, well, the technology world as a whole since the health crisis, since the coronavirus crisis of 2020. And today, we're back for part 2. And in this conversation, we're going to dig deeper into ServiceDesk, what exactly it means. And Wes is kind of the perfect guy for this because he's an L1, L2 support technician. So he's on the front lines. He's also on the front lines for a very wonderful organization that helps, their goal is to defeat cancer by 2025, and I sure as hell hope they can do so. So Wesley is fighting the good fight on the front lines as a help desk technician, service desk technician, and this is part 2 of our conversation. We hope you enjoy it, and stick around after the show. We got a few surprises for you as well. Thanks for listening. This is Recalibrate and Go, brought to you by Aptude. We're back for round 2. Once again, probably already explained this in the introduction, but I kind of say it again anyway. Maybe it's just for my own sake and for the sake of the guest, Wesley Foster Rogers. How you doing?
Hello, doing great.
So last time we chatted, we were talking about just kind of like the practical aspects of service desk and more just about being in the tech business over the last, 20 years or so, I would say, for both you and I.
Exactly. Yep.
I think I started 5 years earlier than you, but that really was more, I was always in the art side of things. So my web design, my career has always been more serendipitous at all. I kind of just fell into everything. And I was also too stupid to say no. They would say, can you do this? I'd say yes. And then you figure out how to do it. And then eventually I built a career on that. I don't know how that works, but anyway, so I figured this time around, because you work as a service desk technician, and service desk is kind of a big deal right now because as you and I kind of alluded to, a lot of people are freaking out.
Yes.
Just because of this whole, and by the way, if I hear new normal, if I hear these terms, I just seriously, I'm just going to hit the bottle of Suntory whiskey right now because you've heard it so much. Okay. We get it. New normal. It's almost like I've been there, done that. Now let's just
trying
figure
to
out
process it.
Yeah. So one of the things we're trying to do here, and hence Recalibrate and Go, the title of it, is to say, okay, we get it. Everything's new. Everything's changing. What are we going to do now? And so one of the things I wanted to ask you as a person who works as a service desk technician,
Yes.
So let's say you're a VP, you're a vice president, you're one of these guys, and you're looking to bring in a service desk, or you're bringing in, you want to like implement more to your staff. In general, like I think that happens to some of these guys. They used to do it a long time ago. They don't do it anymore. We want to give them some advice. So right off the bat, what are some things that you think that maybe people are overlooking when it comes to the IT service desk?
Well, I think the first thing when it comes to myself as a service desk technician, that's so hard to say, service desk technician.
I know you say help desk, and I know and the reason why is because we offer service desk stuff at Aptude. So that's why I'm saying service desk, and
that's my official title too.
I threw him under the bus. It's
my official title is service desk. That's the thing. Yeah. But it's just one of those harder words or
service desk technicians. If you say it like deeper and with more authority, it's easier to say. I think that's why that's the key.
The thing that I feel, I know you said Chuck is what you were thinking of because of Geek Squad.
TV series Chuck. Yes,
the TV series I relate to the most is IT Crowd. I feel like that's one of the TV shows that really kind of nails it. The technicians working in the basement, kind of being shoved aside because nobody understands what they do. They know they're essential, but they just don't know like what they talk about, what they mean. It's boring to everybody. And I think that as I've always felt as the service desk, we're always overlooked. Anytime we're in big meetings, it's a lot of times you feel like, oh, everybody's talking about every other department, but they don't recognize the service desk. And I think that's in my company, it's different. They actually do. They constantly praise us. They thanked us. We're actually having a day off, a random just day off, getting paid for doing such great work during this, helping everyone transition. So I think that's the one thing that I would try to encourage is reach out to them. We had a VP recently come into one of our IT meetings and over Microsoft Teams, and we saw his face, he was on video, and he was talking to us. And these are people that are up there, they're doing important things. They're meeting with international doctors and scientists and trying to, basically they're going to cure cancer by 2025. So these are people we respect. And our VPs, they'll come in, they'll talk to us, they'll tell us what's going on, they'll tell us their struggles, and they'll tell us that they understand our struggles and they want to hear from us.
I wonder if that's because being in the medical industry, just the mindset, for example, like if you're a doctor or if you're trying to cure cancer, which seems to be a very important thing, you kind of understand that the system has to work in a fluid way in order to get from point A to point B. And it's kind of like how a doctor sometimes can, even though they can't fix an engine, they kind of understand how a car engine works just because it's the same things are going in and out. Once again, I'm not medical or technical in that sense, so I have no clue what I'm talking about. But the idea that the systems need to have a certain balance and need to be able to work together, I wonder if that plays into it just because, they get it. They're also on the defense a lot of times. Someone comes in like, I don't feel good. So
yeah, I would guess I always, when I'm talking with users that are upset that they don't understand computers, I tell them, I don't understand cars, but, so I take it to someone that does, and they kind of understand that. That's why they need to reach out to me. So if someone understands that, then they understand they need all the moving parts. They need someone that is a scientist. They need someone that's a doctor. They need the administrators to do all the paperwork. They need the service desk technicians to reach out to users and make sure that everything's working for them. They need the network technicians to make sure that all the carriers are actually doing their job and making sure that all the lines are down, the routers are working. They need the HR to make sure that everybody is sane.
I was going to say, because do you see, because everyone's right now trying to figure this out, right?
Yeah.
How are things going to change? What's going to happen? Because even though they keep talking about, as we talked about, the new normal, but there's not going to be one, because there's one now, and then there's going to be one 6 months to a year from now when everything settles down and things change. How do you see your job or just the, service desk tech in general? How is that going to change? Do you have any ideas?
I always say adapt or die. That's my motto. And I do see when people adapt to things that they can't control, it's very smart, and it's the only way to really survive in all the changes, because things change all the time. Like I said about the snow apocalypse and then the return of the snow apocalypse, we already kind of had something going, and instead of just going, okay, so that happened, let's just get back to business as normal, they spun up task forces to figure out what happens when that happens again. So making sure that works. The same even happened with music. Like the music industry came to a screeching halt with my night job as an electronic musician. Yeah. But we evolved from that. We decided we can do streaming shows now. We can't play at the local venue that we had before because we have to be socially distant, but we can stream. We can play on Facebook, Twitch, Yahoo, YouTube.
No, I totally get that. I mean, in terms of even for me, because for people who don't know, two things. First of all, for Seattle, when you talk about snowpocalypse, which 2008-9 was the first one, and then the other one was just a year or two ago.
I believe so, yes.
Seattle has basically, for those who don't know, has about 5 snow plows 3 of them work and they spit sand. That's it. So if you get more than an inch of snow, the whole city is in a disaster movie. The city is not built for snow at all. And it's all hills. People forget. People think, well, San
Yes.
Francisco's hilly. Seattle is also extremely hilly. And I remember during the first snow apocalypse, I had a 2002 Saturn. And I thought, oh, I'm from the Midwest. I can drive in this. This is no big deal. Oh, no.
Yeah.
The Saturn, the little plastic car goes, it's like a sled. It was like a bobsled going down the hill. Luckily, I was able to stop it. But
Yeah. And
man,
even if you can be okay on the hills, there's other people that can't. So you have no idea who's going to slide into you at any moment.
so good on you guys for being prepared. I kind of have a feeling that a lot of companies from now on are going to have 2 systems for people working in office and also working from home. I think there is going to be that fluidity
We've
from
had
now on.
those conversations, yeah, and we've already been talking about when it changes, when we go back, and we do have quite a few people kind of looking into that. We have another task force that's looking into what do we do? Do we need to cut down on buildings? Do we need to, and then have more people working from home? So it's one of those things that they'll talk about. We'll have meetings over, and we already know that we're successful in it, so it's one of these experiences is one of those things that tests the infrastructure.
Time for a break. So, you're working on a strategic solution, and this solution is going to include AI or IoT, digital transformations, machine learning, or solutions built off of a variety of platforms like C# or Python, Cold Fusion, hey, just to name a few. Well, we can help. At Aptude, we got the team that you need to make your strategic solutions a reality. Put them in play, see what they can do. Visit our website at aptude.com or give us a call, 630-692-6700. We'll be waiting for you. In terms of your career and what you've seen, what are like some of the biggest mistakes companies have made? Obviously not your company. You guys seem to be doing just fine. The Fred Hutchinson Cancer Research Center is on top of their game, as well they should be. They're doing important life-saving things. But in your experience in the past, what are some of the biggest mistakes people have made implementing ServiceDesk? Like, what are some of the things that if you had, let's say you were a vice president and you were going to implement a ServiceDesk to your company or add to it or change it up a little bit, what would you say, hey, listen, whatever you do, don't do this?
You got to take care of your employees as well as you can, because when you're not happy where you work, that's when people leave, and it's way better to have someone that you're giving them all these skills to be successful, and then if they just leave to go somewhere else, it's a waste. Like, I've seen that so many times.
Is it more critical because you spend most of your day playing defense to begin with? Somebody's calling because their system's down or whatnot. So then obviously if the company isn't giving you the respect you deserve, and you're just getting it in the ear all day from people who are angry because their computer isn't working, I imagine that's got to make for a high turnaround rate.
Yeah, you don't want to be in a abusive relationship. You don't want getting it from all sides. You want to be able to have something to believe in, and that's one thing with Fred Hutch. It's nice to be somewhere where I do feel, even though at moments you can kind of get lost and say, "Oh, I'm just IT. I'm not curing cancer." But then they'll bring in cancer survivors and they'll talk to us and they'll say, "Thank you." Like when I was coming in to get cancer treatment, everyone here was making sure that the doctors had working computers and everything went smoothly because of that. And this and that, like I feel like I'm that as well. Maybe I'm not the scientist that's doing the grunt work of that aspect and doing trials, or the doctors that are seeing the patients. Like I'm here as well. I'm doing the work as well.
Now you're level 1, right? You're basically frontline.
I am. I do like level 2 type work, but I'm always like career wise, I'm always kind of back and forth. I've been all over the place.
No, I get it, because titles sometimes don't mean anything. You can be like level 1 or level 2, but you'll probably end up doing some level 4 stuff just because if the problem is there and you can fix it, you just run with it. I totally
exactly.
get that.
Depending on my workload, I'm always going back and forth. I'm training people, helping with any of my coworkers that need help. So I'm constantly doing work that may not be my title. And there have been times when I've thought about either getting a promotion or moving to another department. But I've grown accustomed. I really like working directly with our users. That it makes me happier when I get to help somebody, and especially all the people. It's so varied. It's all over the place. Like I
Oh
love
yeah.
that I could be helping somebody that is database engineer or a BI technician that's crunching data, and they'll tell me what they're doing. They're like, yeah, so here is something that we're doing to plot this data that's coming in, and then be able to get it out to the scientists so that they can see how this is working. And then I can talk to a doctor that says, "Yeah, I use this flow cytometer. I need to use this so that I can process these samples." And I get to help them with their computer that they need to be able to keep this science rolling.
Two-part question for you, because we got to come to a close soon. I mean, we
Yes.
could talk. I always tell her I could talk all day, but unfortunately, I think people would stop listening after the 4-hour mark. But the two things is, obviously, because you've been in this for a while, I would say
Yes.
that what question have you always gotten? What's been the problem that has stayed consistent throughout your entire career? And then what has cropped up over the last year?
The main issues a lot of times is small things that, or this used to work better and now it's not. Like it worked forever and now it's not working.
Like the software gets skunked up, basically.
Yes. So it's usually things that they've been using for years, some kind of software, some kind of hardware, and they've been using it for years and it's worked perfectly. And now out of nowhere, it's not working, and it grinds them to a halt.
Is it like a defrag thing? And I don't even know that's a term that people use anymore.
It could. There's a million things that could be wrong, and that's you can't really say that to the user. Sometimes I kind of,
oh, God forbid, you say, oh, there's a million things that could be wrong with the computer. Then that's it. They have a stroke.
When they say my computer isn't working, I could do the dad joke and say, well, put it to work. You need to get a paycheck from it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But that's the thing, is that you don't know how is it not working? Is it not turning on? Is it not plugged in? Did you turn it off and on again?
You know what? I'll tell you something. That was
Yes.
my quick story. One of the times when I had to do technical support, I used to work at an Ace Hardware in Mokina, Illinois from 94 to 98. That was my high school college job. And we used to rent Ryder trucks, not U-Haul trucks, but Ryder trucks. If you remember what Ryder trucks were, they were the big yellow ones. And this was dot matrix printers, all that retro tech.
Yeah.
So I get a call from one of the other hardware stores that also rented out Ryder trucks. And they were upset because I said, I can't get the printer to work. And of course, the first thing I asked is, well, is it turned on? And they said, well, what do you think I am, stupid? And I'm like, oh, okay, here we go. So then for 15, 20 minutes, I kind of ran through everything. We rebooted the computer. We did all this, da-da-da-da-da. And then finally I said, is it plugged in? And it's like, oh yeah, that's it. Sorry, man. And then I just hung up. And I always felt like tech support, there's always a little bit of that element to it. And people mean well. I just think that technology can be intimidating, especially for those who are uninitiated. And it's always good to have guys like you on the front lines to help out.
It's true, because there is specific things you always have to check for. I always tell people, you'd be surprised how many times the turning off the computer and turning it back on actually works. And how many times you do find that somebody just didn't plug something in.
Yeah, 9 times out of 10, right?
It's always it's those troubleshooting models that you kind of have to you have to check the checkboxes off. I've had actual lists that I've had checkboxes where I check them off. I was like, did I do that? Did I do that? Because it sometimes, depending on the problem, you can be doing trying hundreds of different things, and you have to make sure, because at the end of the day, if you don't have it plugged in, all those things you're trying aren't going to work at all. Right. And it could be the very last thing that you realize and try, and it could have been the first thing.
Due diligence. And also too, a little bit of technology therapist, I think. There you go. Once again, a big thank you to Wesley Foster Rogers, the IT Service Desk Engineer at the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Research Center in Seattle, Washington. I sure enjoyed talking with him. I like how he brought such a human aspect to customer service, to service desk. Because let's be honest, there's always somebody on the other end of the line who's trying to help you. And technology, it can be very frustrating. I know, I work in technology and it drives me crazy. Oh Lord. There's nothing more chilling than finding out your website's down, than finding out something isn't working. 9 times out of 10 though, turning your system on and off will do it. So that's my pro tip for you today. We're gonna play a little bit of a tune from him to close out from his band Two Libras. The song's called Free Time. And if you have a little bit of free time, you should subscribe to our podcast on your favorite streaming service. We're on Apple, we're on Spotify, we're on Stitcher, we're on YouTube, SoundCloud, and TuneIn. I mean, how could you not find us on the web? We're everywhere. Still trying to get into the Google podcast. That's next, but six streaming services isn't bad for a start. So seriously, please subscribe. Coming up next, we're going to have Heather Nagel. We're going to bring her back. We're going to talk about logistics and the type of software that she builds to help with compliance. We also have a couple guys from Reuters, and they're going to talk to us about the transportation sector as well. So please join us for that. Thank you for listening. It's Recalibrate and Go.